were like really young, but I mean, it was mostly me, David, Elias, and my brother, and Venus. It was usually just us, and then Polly was there along, tagging along, a few years behind, but he was tagging along there. Um, so even with us, it's always been a small group. And it's something that I seen pretty common. Usually, when we go to like different churches and stuff, it's a pretty common thing where there's not as many youth people. Even the brother that was here earlier, he was talking about how his daughters are not really in like church and stuff no more. So it's kind of like I mean, it's not a good common thing, but it is a common thing. Me and Venus, we went to like a youth thing like they have right now in Salinas, like about 3 weeks ago, and it was pretty much the same amount of people. And I was a little bit surprised just because it's Salinas, it's a big church, and just to see so few like youth people, um, I was a little bit surprised because I was expecting more. Just because not really much because it's like a way bigger church, but just because a lot of the stuff that we teach and stuff like that's kind of like the foundation you can call it. So it was very, I don't want to say too shocking, but it was to a certain extent. And it just kind of made me realize because I'm pretty sure the ones that grew up here, they know that the epitome of like the main, the source of like knowledge and stuff that we get it's from Salinas. So you would expect there to be like the main, I mean, in other terms, the main headquarters of the strong youth and stuff like that. But unfortunately, it's not. It's not. So it was just kind of like to a certain extent, it was an eye opener just for the fact that a lot of the churches are like that. There's not too much youth. Um, and even me growing up, I would go to a bunch of youth conferences and stuff. And before there was way more, when we would go to different like churches and stuff, there was way more youth. And I mean, nowadays that I'm older, I see that there's been less and less. And before, I thought there wasn't that many, so now there's like way less. And I kind of always had the idea of like why. So even I mean, it doesn't have to be people that come outside or anything like that. No, of course, it's even like people within us that grew up inside the church. It's always a very common thing to see how they, with time and of course you grew up older. You do your own decisions and stuff. So you have the opportunity to either stay or not stay. And one thing that I could say about like me and my brother is that our parents never obligated us to stay in church after a certain age. It was kind of like, hey, it's kind of up to you guys if you guys want to stay or not stay. But he's like, I did my part as a parent to teach you guys, what to do and like show more, as a Christian believing growing up. And I mean, at least I could say that he did a good job because I'm here. If he didn't, I wouldn't have been here. And it's like, and it's something that now that I get older, I see a lot. I interact at work. I interact with a lot of older people, like parents and stuff like that, and how a lot of them give me the. Well, I used to work at a school. That was a very fun experience. And one of the things that I really learned right there working at the school was that a lot of the kids, it wasn't much of like the kids that were misbehaving or I mean, yeah, there were some because there were some, but the main thing that I noticed is that the parents were not really involved with their kids. When I would call up to set up like meetings with the parents and things like that, the parents would hardly show up, or they would always come up with some excuse. So like even like you can say not in church, there's always even an issue with like the parents not being always involved with their children and stuff. And I understand there's a lot of parents that are always working and things like that. So of course it's not always easy for parents to be there for their kids and stuff. But now that I've been, like I said, growing up, and I mean, I don't have any family, thank God, but I don't have any kids or anything. But like now that because I mean, especially at my age, a lot of the Venus is not here, but since me and Venus are kind of like around the same age, they always like tell us like, oh, we're gonna get married and stuff. At first, it was before like, oh, get an education, get work. But now that I'm older, it's like, oh, when are you gonna get married? When are you gonna get married? And we just came from the trip from Utah, and man, yeah, they were really pushing it. I was kind of like, man, like leave me alone, like I just don't want to, like, But it's like a common thing now that they really just because we're like older, and especially like in Mexican culture, it's a thing where like if you see a guy after a certain age, it's kind of like, hey, you gotta get married, or where's your family, where's your kids, why haven't you got married? And it's and so most, I mean, I don't take it any way personal, like I really don't. But there's a lot of people that I know that kind of did take it like personal, so they're like, oh, well, I'm just gonna get married so they can leave me alone. And I mean, that's not right because you do it based off. I mean, as a guy, you're going based off emotions, which is you're the head of the house. You should be a little bit more calculated on your decisions. But what I'm trying to get at is just how now that I've gone older, and I remember as a kid or as a teenager or like early 20s, I always do remember people always talking about. And I remember I think I told my dad once too, like, hey, like I'm kind of getting a little tired of going to these youth services and stuff. And he was like, oh, why? I'm like, well, because every time I go, they're always kind of telling us and I don't mean in a negative way, but always kind of expressing the same thing. Noviazgo, 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 you know. And I don't know if you guys go to other places, but they mention that a lot. And I told my dad for a point, I was like, hey, I'm getting kind of like annoyed. Like they're always telling us this and this and that. And like I get it, of course, I understand what they're saying. But after a certain point, me personally, I'm just giving you my personal opinion, is that I was starting to get kind of annoyed and tired. Like, oh, I don't want to go because they're just going to say the same thing again. And the only good thing I can say about feeling that at that moment is that at least I knew that in the beginning, I was paying attention, you know. I was taking in consideration the things that they were telling us, acknowledging us, and, you know, I took it to heart. But then after a certain while, I can honestly say that I was getting kind of a little bit annoyed. And but I kept on going. You know, I kept on going. My dad never made me, but it was just kind of something natural that since I grew up in a church, I just kept on going. And I think one of the main things that I felt is more because in the position that my dad's in, and I kind of he never really told me, but I always saw it as in a way to like not this. And I know nowadays it's not a common thing to do or say, like it was back like thousands of years. But like, you know, have you guys heard the word about honor? Right, honor. Have you guys heard how back in the day it was like, oh, bring honor to the family and stuff like that? I mean, I'm like, what's a common movie like Mulan? There we go. That's a perfect one. That's a perfect example how they say disgrace to the family, honor, and all that. And back in the day, it was a really popular thing, you know, bringing honor to your family name. It was a very like popular thing to do, and I'm a big like history junkie. I really like getting into history from all the wars from back in the day with the Roman Empire or the Persian Empire or the Greeks and all that stuff. I'm a big junkie on that, so I always really like history. And so part of the history was about that honor for the country, honor for the empire, bringing honor to your family and stuff like that. So since as a kid, I always liked history. So one of the reasons why I kept on going to these youth services and church and stuff is because I felt like it, like as a son, I felt like a duty to like honor like my family, because I would see a lot of other youths around there be like, who cares, you know, like whatever, it's the same thing, it's boring. And yeah, to a certain extent, yeah, you sit and you just listen to someone talk, and yeah, I mean, it is boring to it. But if you're not like, how many of you guys know? I'm pretty sure you guys know or listen to podcasts. I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys have noticed how before, like I call it BC, before COVID, like 2019, it was there, but it wasn't like a popular thing, but it was there. And once like everything shut down and stuff, I don't know if you guys started seeing how the podcast started really like picking up. And I've noticed that, and when I talk to a few other people around like work and stuff, they, oh yeah, I like to listen to podcasts. Oh, I like to listen to podcasts. So it's something that I can notice that before no one would really do that, sit down and listen to other people talk. It was boring. But now, since I notice how like, you know, time changed and stuff with the whole COVID thing, people started to pay more attention to like podcasts and things like that. So their attention span changed a little bit from before when we were there to like how it is now. I mean, how many of you guys even do listen to podcasts of any kind? It doesn't matter. I'm not being specific. No? Yeah, I guess no. Come on, guys. Be more, and I'll talk about that later. What I'm trying to say. But I noticed that the attention span changed, and so back then, what for us was considered boring podcast, like who listens to a podcast back then? Like it was boring. But nowadays, it's like a common thing listening to podcasts and just sitting and listening to other people talk, you know. And back then, I mean, that was boring. So I noticed that a lot of the like I said, me growing up, seeing all that, and like I was talking about honor and stuff, it's just like, you know, showing my parents the honor that I believe they deserve for me to be there. And so now that I'm older, you know, out of the early 20s and all that, I really did take that in consideration. Me and my brother, we always had. That's one thing that I think. I know there's a lot of people here that have siblings and relatives and stuff. One thing that me as growing up, going to these youth events and stuff, I always had my brother, and it's one thing that I've seen now that a lot of us guys and some girls that don't really have I say because I'm a guy, so it's more easier for me to understand that side of you is how you have you always have someone with you to like, I mean, like a group of friends, you know, like when I was going to high school, I mean, you always had your little group of friends. If you go into college or whatever, you have your group of friends and stuff. And you know, when you're young, you don't really know. I mean, me, of course, I knew to a certain extent how to differentiate bad from good influences and stuff like that. I mean, I was, I grew up well enough to understand the difference and be able to be a little bit more of have a stronger like perspective of how people act and stuff, and be able to understand which group is better than the other. And one thing that I really did acknowledge is like, you know, when you grow up with people, you do tend to like sometimes things that they call it rub off on you or rub on you, like maybe some comments or some like jokes. You know, with time you tend to like have some of those things rub off or on you. Sometimes maybe some things that you would do, and maybe the group would kind of like make fun of you of it, so you stop doing it. And maybe something that the group did that you kind of didn't find it funny, but since they would do it, you started doing it because it was funny. So, you know, like when you're in a group, you tend to get influenced. It's one way or another. It could be a bad thing or it could be a good thing. But in some way or another, who you hanging out with and who you associate with tends to rub off on you one way or another. And in school, it's like the very, you know, common thing about like, you know, hanging out with friends, teachers, talking about like homework and stuff like that in school, high school. But then once you get out of the school environment, it's I'm pretty sure some of you that started working notice the difference of how you start interacting with like older people. You know, when you're in high school, it's just mainly a certain age group. But once you get out of high school and you start working like at a restaurant or any other place, you notice the difference of the environment, like different age groups, age difference. And then you can probably, I've seen it happen so many times where, you know, you're working and like it's your group of coworkers, hey, let's go out to eat or something. Yeah, it's been a crazy shift. Yeah, let's go. So then you go with, you know, your coworkers to have some food and something. But then after a while, if you notice, you start kind of like one of your coworkers starts becoming more like your friend. You start hanging out with them more. So like one way or another, if you're in school or out of school, the group that you associate with is always, it says a lot. So I want to read in Ecclesiastes 4:10, pero I guess in English, English version. But I'm just going to read it out loud, and if you guys want to catch on to it later, but it's Ecclesiastes 4:10, but I'm just going to read it now just because we're short on time. It says, if either of them falls down, one can help the other up, but pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. And from this verse, it's really easy. I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys have heard about like the lone wolf, you know, like all the guys on his own, the lone wolf, or as a guy, you kind of see him more like, oh, I can do what I want by myself and stuff. You know, and girls too, they kind of say the same thing. Oh, I'm a boss, babe. I can do whatever I want. You know, the common thing. Like, you know, you hear these terminology terms all the time, and because I hear it all the time. You know, so like it's a common thing to see. You know, always trying to be like on top. But one thing that with time that I've realized is that, like it says here in the verse, you know, if either of them falls down, as in like a group of friends or one of your friends. One can help the other one up. So like, you know, if someone falls, you always have your friends around you, as they say, to help you get back up. But pity anyone, but like, you know, you feel sorry for anyone who who falls and has no one to pick them up. And one thing now that's been really common, I was talking to, I was going to the gym, and there was this girl right there, and I was, getting my water. Oh, how's your workout? Oh, yeah, it's good. And then slowly, eventually, I started talking to her here and there. And I was like, oh, how's your week going? It was like the end of the week. She's like, oh, having a lot of stuff, I have anxiety and all these things. And I was like, oh, like anxiety as in like which way? She's like, oh, I don't know. I just know I have anxiety. And that's kind of like, well, how do you know you have anxiety if you don't know what it is? Like, why do you, and she's younger than me, but it was like, why do you nowadays, it's really easy to define, depression. Like that's because it's a term that I've heard so much nowadays, feeling depressed, feeling anxiety. And does anybody even know what like anxiety is right here? Pretty sure everybody has a pretty good idea of the definition of it, right? Yes? Yeah? Or what about depression? I'm pretty sure you guys heard about the word depression. So, and then when I was trying to get at her, like, what do you define this? And it was just kind of more like, the fear of doing something, or when something comes up, you feel, like how many people are scared of like a public speaking? Because that's like I think I read that's like one of the number one things that people like are scared of is public speaking. Being in front of an audience and not being able to express themselves correctly or embarrassment, And she was throwing around all these terms, and I was kind of like, well, I mean, don't you have like, your friends or your family or someone's like, oh no, I don't really like to rely on that because, I know I could do it on my own and this and that. And then I kind of figured, well, I mean, maybe that's why you're depressed because you're alone, you don't. Maybe that's why, you feel anxiety because you have nobody with you to help you in any way. Like a lot of times we put ourselves in these like positions or situations where like, oh, I feel anxiety, but it's like, yeah, because you don't have anybody. Oh, I feel depressed. Well, yeah, because you don't talk to anybody. Like, and then the reason behind it is because, oh, I want to be independent. Oh, I can do this on my own. And there's nothing wrong with that. Of course, there's not. But I mean, as you get older, you start seeing that it's always good to have someone with you. It's always good to have a group of with you. There's a famous saying from this billionaire. It's called, and I think you heard it earlier when my dad said that. Oh no, the other guy. He said that. Tell me who you hang out with, and I'll tell you who you are. And the one that I like to say is like, tell me who you hang out with, and then I'll tell you your future. And it's something that I've seen more with people around my age, is that they started hanging out with a group of people that was very common to, because you know how right now they legalized weed and all that stuff. So they started hanging out with that, smoking and doing that. But during the few times that they started hanging out with this group, I noticed that their ambition started dying out. They were going to school. Some of them were going to school, and they just stopped going to school because like, nah, for what? I mean, I'm hanging out with my friends and stuff. So you notice how like you pretty much, and I think I said this before when we went on the Utah trip, that like a lot of the times when like people hang out with certain people, you start, like I said, rubbing off on those like negative traits. Because most of the time, if you're gonna be hanging out with a group that's gonna have a positive impact, you see the person being a positive impact. Let's just give an analogy. If I start hanging out with a millionaire, eventually you start picking up on these like millionaire traits, like the way they do things and operate, things like that. So you slowly start maybe jumping into their business or jumping into some sort of business that they're related to. So you start getting those traits, and yourself, you can even become a millionaire because you're associating yourself with a millionaire. And if you don't, you're probably an idiot, because that's pretty much what you should be doing, is that if you're hanging out with a millionaire, you should be taking, you should be smart, draining the knowledge from this guy. And if you're not, you're an idiot. It's simple as that. But if you start hanging out with people that don't have any sort of ambition or anything like that, that rubs off on you. I mean, from people that, like, let's just say, what's like a common thing that people do here? Let's see. Let's say going partying, because that's the most common thing. Everybody always talks about, party. So let's say you go out partying, right? And then you do that one weekend, you do that the other weekend, and then you do that the other weekend. After a certain time, you do that. It's been like maybe months. And every other weekend, you're doing the same thing. You're not progressing. You're not doing anything better for yourself because the whole week, all you're thinking is like, oh, we're gonna go over here, we're gonna go over here. So you just start planning for the end of the weekend, and your ambition to doing anything more, it kind of dwindles. It dies down, and then yeah, maybe on the side you'll have a little conversation with an old friend. Oh yeah, I'm going to school. Oh yeah, I'm doing this. But in reality, you're not even doing anything because you're just planning for the weekend, and then sometimes you associate yourself the weekend with all your like your let's say your schoolwork and all that, and then it comes, oh, I'm stressing out because I can't do this. But yeah, you're partying on the weekend or you're doing all these other things. So like you kind of do it to yourself. How I've seen it, like you kind of as they call it, you shoot yourself in the foot, because you don't the people that you associate with yourself are not helping you in any way. This other verse that I want to read is in let's see. First of Corinthians 15:33, and I'm just gonna read it for time's sake. It says, "Do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character." And I have a story of work for this one. I have there was a worker there where I work at, and for the most part, pretty pretty friendly. Came to work. Pretty like common good citizen as they call it. Going to work and doing all their things right. And then they started, because I do security, so I see the cameras. And one thing that I picked up on watching cameras is, I do, because I know there's a lot of security guards out there that are losers too, that don't do their job right, and it's just put it how it is. There is, but I really like to, when I'm in an occupation, I really like to observe it and learn from it as much as I can. But that's me. So like I always try to find some sort of like positive outtake of whatever job it is. So on this job, I've noticed from working on it that when you watch cameras, you start seeing patterns on people. You start seeing how they act, what they do, their like routines. Like, oh, this guy's gonna go to the restroom at this time already. Like we know it, and yeah, he goes. Like you start seeing all these patterns of people, how they act, how they conversate. We've seen how some people. It's funny. Like you see how you hear about, oh, this guy doesn't like this guy. So you see like on the cameras, like they're coming across each other. Instead of like going, they're just like go that way. And it's like, oh yeah, that person's going to turn this way. Like, oh, look, they didn't. Like you see all these things on camera. And well, with this person, you regular work, nothing bad. But then started hanging out with these other group of coworkers that usually would go out during their lunch and like smoke and stuff like that. So with time, I started seeing this person hanging out with this group. And then as they would pass by like the metal detector and stuff, at first it was like really nice, hey, how's it going? Good morning, good afternoon. But then after a while, I started getting more rebellious, would not show up on time, started showing up no call, no show, and would not even show up to work. And then I would be like, hey, I wonder what's going on with this person. And then I asked their manager, like, hey, what's going on with what's her face? It's always it's changed. I was like, yeah, I know. I started hanging out with that group, and then it started just changing. And I'm all like, oh, she was doing good, right? Like, yeah, everything was going good, working, like no problems. But then started associating themselves with this group, and you notice that all these bad traits started like rubbing on this person. And then with time, like a different attitude, like it says here, like bad company corrupts good character. We started seeing that the character was starting to change, being really rude. With like the manager, like, oh, you can't tell me what to do, and like just rude. And it's like, what happened to you? Like you see this decent person going to work, and then with time you see them associating with this group, and you start seeing a change of attitude. And like I said, bad company corrupts good character, attitude, to the point where gave the manager attitude, and then started going behind the other manager's back. All kinds of drama started causing all these problems at work. Where like recently they fired this person because of the attitude. And the funny thing is, when this person was in this delusion that, oh, I can do whatever I want, no one can tell me what, this and that, a lot of the comments that this person would make would always be like, oh, they can't fire me, oh, they can't do this to me, oh, they can't do this. And all this, like, I was like, dude, where did this come from? To the point where, they could, you're an employee, they could replace you like tomorrow. Like, what do you mean they can't fire you? And they fired this person. And the thing that I found interesting was that everybody, like managers and stuff, they said that if she just was how she was before, she wouldn't have got fired. You know, the character, the demeanor, the attitude, the tone of addressing people just changed so much to the point where it got you fired. And so I could witness it from watching like people's attitude and stuff on screen, how influence of negative people have on a person, from being a regular good worker to at the end getting fired just because you can see the transition of hanging out with a certain group of people that influence this person, and now they're out of a job, you know, and that's just like something like minor. It's not even. I mean, I'm pretty sure they can find another job somewhere else, but I mean, the fact that you lost your job for your attitude, it's kind of like, well, you must be some narcissistic type of person to think that nothing can happen to you. You know, like even I'm replaceable. Everybody's replaceable at a job. And sometimes we put our ourselves in over our head, like, oh yeah, I do, because I've heard, even not, this is like a younger person, I've heard it from older people that said this, like, oh yeah, if it wasn't because of me, this whole company would shut down. If it wasn't because of me, this place would be like this and this place would be like that. But at the end of the day, you know, your attitude towards things does give an outcome of how at the end you're replaceable, like at any work or anything like that. So like that's one example that I could say about here in First of Corinthians that says do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character. Perfect example. And then and another verse that I wanna put out is in Job 42:10, and I'm just gonna read it. It says, after Job had prayed for his friends, the Lord restored his fortunes and gave him twice as much as he had before. So that's one thing too that I think we all fall in, is that you have it doesn't matter the age group, you know, in high school, out of high school, middle school, outside of school, you associate with a group, and you always think, oh, these friends are gonna be with me towards the end. Oh yeah, we're gonna be close until the end. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you have experienced how that changes. You know, like the group that, let's say, you had in high school. Once you're at high school, you come to realization that everybody just goes their own separate ways. And I mean, there's a lot of people that, oh, my BFF and all that stuff is not with you no more. You know, they're oh yeah, they would never betray me, or you know, all that nonsense that that everybody always says. You know. And you see that it splits. Everybody goes their own way. Everybody talks, and it changes. And that's like, you know, you can say high school. Everybody goes their own ways. And as you get older, you always tend to have like a small group still that you stick around with. But for the most part, even that group that as you go on with can also change during time. You know, you could be close with this person for these many years, and then out of nowhere, a demeanor changes or something. Like for us guys, it's kind of more like, well, you know, it's very, how do I put it? Like a common thing. I mean, it is what it is, but like for girls, a common thing, a lot of the reason why girls separate and do this is for like over a guy. It's like a very common thing. Like, you know, this, because I've heard it, seen it, mainly from people from school, from people at work, from very outside. It's like, oh, I was talking to her, but then she was talking to this guy, and then I was talking to that guy, and then, well, she said, and it's always for some guy. Vice versa, also the dudes, you know, like they don't really know how to. I mean, I have a different mindset for that, but like the general public is, a lot of the guys too tend to like, oh, well, I'm talking to this girl, then oh yeah, but he's trying to talk to her, and same thing, they stop talking for a girl. Vice versa. So because they both do that, both the guys and girls do that. So it's just more common with girls, but guys do that too. But like I was saying here in Job, that it said that Job had prayed for his friends. So it depends on who you associate with yourself. You know, I always tried to associate myself with good people that don't have any. Obviously, not. I still have good friends from high school. Yeah, of course they do their own thing. They're not in church and stuff. But the only thing that I've really admired is that they respect me for coming here to church, and in no any way have they ever tried to like kick me out of, like influence me to get out of here. Like, oh, you shouldn't even be there now. Because even I told them from a certain point, like, hey, I come here to church, and that's not just how it is, and they've respected that, and they've never pushed me against it or try to like, oh, come on, do this. Like, who cares? Like they've respected that, and that's one thing that I could at least say, that not everybody. because I know it's for us. It's rare, really rare, where you have a group of friends that are not in church, but they respect that you go to church, and they don't try to push you or influence you to go outside and do whatever they're doing. Instead, they'll just like respect you. And that's another thing too, that respect is not really a thing that you see nowadays within like people that you know. Like for example, I could say from my experience, personal experience, that they respect me enough to not try to contradict my beliefs or try to some way convince me that I'm wrong or something. They respect me, and they respect my decisions of coming here to church. And that's the other thing that is really lost is a common respect within people. And like I said, Job said what? That he prayed for his family, and what it says, the Lord restored his fortunes and gave him twice as much as he had before. And sometimes we get so stuck with a certain group that we believe, oh yeah, they're never going to leave. And it's put it in a way that it's a negative group, a group that's influenced you to do things that, I mean, you're not supposed to, or just not even being ambitious enough, just bums, I guess you can say. Because even there's groups that don't even, let's just say, oh, no hace nada malo, but at the same time they're not doing nothing good either, you know. So why would you want to be around that? I mean, yeah, they're not doing nothing bad, but they're not doing nothing good either. So you're just stuck there. You're not progressing. You know, life is going, time is running, and you look yourself, because I've done this before, where I look myself back and I was like, oh man, thank God I didn't stay there. Oh man, thank God I cut this friendship, or because if not, you just get stuck there. Time will pass by, and next thing you know, like, oh damn, I haven't done anything with my life, or I haven't done this, or I should have done. It's been a year and I haven't even done this. I'm just doing the same thing, and just because like the people you associate with you are stuck in that thing, you shouldn't have to be stuck in that. Especially now, like especially me, right now that I'm talking to you, and I'm trying to get through your mind, like, hey man, like don't be stuck in a position. Don't be in a position where you're stuck and you can't get out of. And then later on, you're going to be looking back and be like, oh, I wish someone had told me, or I wish someone kind of, like, as they call it, you know, shaking up the tree, you know, because it's really easy to kind of get stuck in a position when you're with, associate yourself with a group that doesn't do anything. And like I said, time passes by if you never progress or anything. And what did the Lord do to Job? He restored his fortunes and gave him twice as much as he had before. So sometimes, coming back to being stuck, you get stuck, so you don't do anything. But if you associate yourself with a group that's gonna build you up, obviously, you know, make sure it's, you know, they serve God, and to a certain extent, you also, you know, you're also an influence to them about God. The Lord restores your fortunes and gives you twice as much. Which, I mean, the way I take it is, if you're stuck with a group of friends that's not being ambitious in any way, and then you're scared to leave it just for the fact that they're your friends, or whatever, however you want to put it, and you're just going to be stuck there and you're not going to progress. Once you leave that, I'm pretty sure God will give you twice as much. Let's say you always, just vague example, you say you wanted to start a business, because that's a very common thing now. Oh, entrepreneur, you know, oh, influencer, you know, affiliate marketing, you know, I want to sell my vasos, you know, like, how many makeup, how many girls don't? It's funny, I know it's a little bit off topic, but it's just because there's more females. Sorry for you guys, but there's this I was having a discussion with this girl at work, and she was like, oh yeah, I like to, you know, put on my makeup and stuff. Like, oh no, yeah, it's good, you know, do your thing. I'm not saying don't do it. And then she's like, yeah, because, you know, like I like doing it for myself, because I want myself to look pretty in this. I was like, oh yeah, of course, there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm not like, but to a certain extent, you also really, and she doesn't go to church or anything. She's not like, but to a certain extent, you like, you want to look attractive for the people outside. I mean, yes, to a certain extent, you do it for yourself, but in the reality, you put on makeup and stuff, so when you go out, you know, people see you as an attractive person. I mean, and she's like, no, it's just for me. I don't care about anybody else. It's just for me. It's like, no, it's not just for you. Because, I mean, if it was for you, do you go to sleep with your makeup? She's like, well, no. I was like, yeah, so it's not for you, because you're not going to look pretty when you want to go to sleep. Like, it's not for you. Like, it really isn't. Like, yes, you do it to a certain extent, but in reality, you do it so other people can see you, you know? And, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Of course, you know, you want to look your best outside. But just to ignore the fact that, oh, it's just for me, I mean, I think that's pretty like ignorant in a way, a sense, because you don't want to accept the fact that it's not just for you. You also want to look good for something else. And there's nothing wrong with that. Well, the point is that she was like, no, she was stuck. No, no, it's just for me. Or like, if it really was just for you, why, when there was the whole, the whole shutdown and stuff, why was there still speakeasy? You know what speakeasies are? Does anybody know what speakeasies? Did anybody take history class? No? Do you guys remember Prohibition? Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Private club. Yeah, the Prohibition when they banned alcohol in the 1920s. They called them speakeasies when they had the hidden bars and stuff. So I mentioned it. I was like, well, you girls had your speakeasies of makeup. I mean, a lot of the people had like their friends were doing makeups and stuff. So yeah, all the nail salons and all that was shut down. But you guys were still getting your makeup and your nails done, going undercover, hiding in the house. Oh, my friend knows how to do this. Or my friend. So it's kind of like you know that it's not really just for you, but it's for you, for everybody else also to see you. My point is that the whole business thing, that a lot of people always try to, want to do a business. I want to do a business. And if you associate with a group that doesn't have any ambitions whatsoever, like I'm going to put it from a guy's point of view, because this is more common with guys. And it's also from experience that some of the people that I know, I've seen them just diminish. And it's a pretty sad, for me personally, I see it very sad because it's people that I know. And that before when I met them, they had this strong ambition to be better, graduate, do all these things. And you see them decline during time. This is a person that I know, he got his EMT license. He was trying to be a doctor's assistant. And he was really going to school, doing this, doing that. Pandemic come, and schools got closed down, the whole usual. Everybody knows the same. Everybody's heard the pandemic shutdown. So there was no physical school, so it was all online. He hated the online. He was like, I don't want to do online. I was like, yeah, don't do it. That's fine. So he stopped doing it, but when he stopped doing it, he started hanging out with some of his coworkers who the most common thing is just, be at your house and smoke. So he started doing that, hanging out with them more and more and more, to like a couple months had passed by. I ran into him again. I was like, hey, man, so what's up? You like, what happened? Are you still going to school because of the whole shutdown and this? He's like, nah, just stop going. I was like, well, why? He's like, oh, just because I don't like the online thing and this and that. I was like, oh, yeah, I get it. I mean, I don't like the online thing either. So, but I'm like, so what are you doing now then instead? He's like, oh, well nothing. I'm just hanging out with with these heads. And I'm like, oh, so what do you guys do? He's like, oh, nah, just kick it, chill, smoke and stuff. I was like, oh, all right. I mean, is that what you see yourself doing, like, for a while or what? Or he's like, oh, no, I'll go to school eventually. And that was back in 2020. I saw this guy maybe a couple weeks ago. Hey, man, it's been a while. What's up, man? Usual. And then, wait, so what are you doing? No, school's opened up. Are you going back to school? What have you been doing? Nah. You gave me the exact same thing. Nah, just chilling, hanging out with this group. Are you still, oh, yeah, all right, cool. You still talk to them, whatever. But what are you doing, Oh, nah, just chilling, smoking weed, same thing. And I was all like, and I told him, I was like, it's been 2 years. You haven't, like, all right, well, I mean, it's cool there. I just like to chill there. And I was kind of like, dude, it's been 2 years. You're doing the same thing. Like you're already, because he's around my age. He's like, dude, you're getting old. Like, I mean, we're not that old, but I mean, like, you're getting old, man. And it's been 2 years. 2 years. How many days are in a year? 365. It's been over that, and you're still doing the same thing. Like, where's the ambition? I told him, where's the whole? I want to be this. I want to do that. Like, I just like no ambition. And so it came to the conclusion that having a certain amount of influence of group of people that you associate with you does have an influence on you. I mean, this person was very intrigued to go and be a doctor's assistant. He had already gone to school. He had done a few things already. He had been going to school since I got out of high school, a while back. Back in 1990, nah, just kidding. I'm not that old. But it had been about, let's see, since 20, it would have been It had been about 8 years that he was going to school. He was going over there up in East Bay, and then he came over here to see his UMB. So he was doing this thing. And then just for associating yourself with these people, like all those years just went to waste. And I told him, like, dude, I mean, what about all those years, all that money? You know, because it wasn't for free. You know, all that money, all that time, all the driving up to see his UMB, like all those days, like, you know, wasting gas, time, all that effort, you just kind of in a way threw it away just to associate yourself with this group. And he was kind of, and I mean, I was telling him this. He was kind of like, oh, I mean, he didn't really know what to say because, I mean, in reality, there's nothing you could say because it's your fault. I mean, well, his fault. But like for letting himself be influenced by this group, and instead of listening, or I mean, I'm pretty sure some people told him out there, but instead of, you know, acknowledging in your, I mean, it sounds very, but like in your brain, because I mean that's what you use. Like you couldn't comprehend in your brain that, hey man, like I put all this work, all these years, all this money into this, and just because I'm hanging out with these bums, I'm not doing anything. So the influence that other people have on you, as much as you don't want to say it, as much as people deny it, it is there. It really is there. I try really hard to be a little bit more cautious of like the people I hang out with and stuff. And even though right now I'd be an idiot for me to let myself get influenced like that, because it's kind of like, you know, you should know better. Like you really should. So I really what I do nowadays. I know it sounds very extreme, but what I like to do is if I mess up in some way, I like to punish myself. And I'm not saying like whip myself. No, I'm not saying that. Come on, not to that extreme. But I like to punish myself in a sense, like I probably, like if I wanted to buy something, like, oh, I wanted to, let's see, what do I like to buy? Oh, because I've been trying to buy a new gun. So I've been trying to get this new gun, and I messed up. You know, I did something I shouldn't. So I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna buy it now. But I really wanted it, but I'm like, I'm not gonna buy it because you messed up. So now you're not gonna buy it. Or sometimes what I do is like if I know it sounds very tedious, but I really like to. I'm at the point where I really like to be on the top of my game, as they call it. One time I lost my keys for my car, and I was going to work, and I was, how can I lose my keys? Like it's my keys. I use them on a daily basis. Like I'm an idiot. So what I did was that the whole day I didn't eat. I didn't eat. I just like, I'm not gonna eat, so I can punish myself for forgetting the keys. So next time. Every time I do that, I always have my keys. Like, oh, I have my keys, right? And like I said, it sounds very extreme or whatever, but that's just me. I'm just giving you from my point of view that's what I like to do, because it's the sort of way that I discipline myself. Because in reality, no one out there is going to discipline you more than yourself. You know, even when it comes to school or anything, working out or whatever, being a boss babe, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to label yourself. When it comes to doing all those things, no one else is going to discipline you more than yourself. So I like doing these things, and like I said, it might be extreme, but I mean, it's helped me a lot. Because I'll tell you one thing, I haven't forgotten my keys since then. I really haven't, because I'm like, oh, I don't want to not eat. So I have. It's like I said, it sounds extreme, but I really do like doing that because it helps me. And like I said, I haven't forgotten my keys. One time I misplaced my phone, and I was like, oh, I can't find my phone. And I was like, oh man, I'm about to punish myself, you know. So what I did was. I went and I ran like a few miles, and I was dying. Like, I don't want to do this, but I was doing it for, it's like, that's what you get for forgetting your phone. You know, you're dumb. Like, that's, and I mean, like I said, it's extreme, but I like doing that because nowadays I don't forget my phone now, like, because I don't want to do that. And like I said, it might be a little extreme, but I like doing that because I like to keep myself disciplined and consistent. Because in the end of the day, you're not gonna. No one's gonna do anything for yourself. You know, you gotta work on yourself. And like I said, if you're associating yourself with a group that is not making you any way better or progress or anything, then what are you doing with your life? You know, like what are you doing? And I mean, I know right now I've been saying a couple verses and stuff, but I mean, I kind of want to talk to you guys in a more common ground sense. I mean, a lot of times we go to these like church services and stuff. A lot of people like using, and of course using Bible verses, but like guys using these stories from the Bible and stuff, which is great. It's awesome. I'm not in any way discrediting them. But I think it's also a good way to talk to you guys with common knowledge, common ground, common vocabulary, terms that you guys are know about, and some, you know, casual experiences. And I feel like it's also easier for you guys to comprehend some of the stuff that I'm saying. I mean, some of the things that that I've had experiences with, I always like to share them when I get an opportunity to do talk in front of a group, especially youth. I always like to share these experiences because I think well for me it's an outlet. So like that, like if I'm embarrassed about something or something that it bugs me, I like to share with you guys. So like that, like kind of like get it out of your system as they call it. So people like to do different things, but like when it comes to this opportunity, I always like to say different examples or things that I have learned, and I always like to share it and always find a way to associate some sort of verse or something with it. But it's almost it's almost gonna be already time to finish up. I thought that was pretty quick. I mean, maybe because I'm the one talking. But pretty much the whole purpose of like these few minutes. Maybe there's just one last little example that I want to give out, and it's on Proverbs 16:28, and it says, "A perverse person stirs up conflict and gossip, and separates close friends." I'm pretty sure this is like it's here. I mean, because I know a lot of people always the Bible, they don't really like to put any real reality examples in it because it's the Bible. But like, look at right here in the Bible, it says perfectly: a perverse person stirs up conflict, and the gossip separates close friends. How many times haven't you guys seen that before with other people about the cheese man? It's like a common thing. Like who like it says here in the Bible, but like you guys have seen it from all over the place. The cheese man, the gossip separates close friends. How many times have you seen, heard, or even done it yourself, where you talk smack about another person? I mean, we've all done it. I mean, I'm not gonna say I haven't done it. Yeah, I've done it. But but the thing is that like stirs up conflict. So I mean, there's another thing too, where like you guys heard about an instigator, right? Someone that instigates. Yes. I'm just like because I like to ask because I want you guys to understand the terminology. That I mean, they're not complicated words, but just like you guys can understand the terminology. But like the person that likes to instigate, like if two people are arguing and the other guy's like, oh, like that's like a very common. I mean, we do it all the time at the park, like it's. I don't know if you guys pay attention to it, we always instigate and do stuff like that. But it's like it's we try not. There's a line because we do talk a lot like that. There's a line that we always try not to cross. So we do. I mean, we like to joke around and stuff, but there's always a line that we owe. I mean, as me, I always try to. Hey, there's a line that you shouldn't cross. So you can keep like a healthy environment. Yeah, we're making fun of each other, but it's in a healthy way. It's not in a way that's gonna create actual conflict and gossip. Like I said, I'm pretty sure you guys know of people and examples that, by saying something about someone has really stirred up a conflict, has lost friends, relationships, anything to do with maybe work, like, getting like fired. Like there's a lot of things, negative things can come out of gossiping, not just separating friends, but that's like I think that's one of the worst things that could happen is like if you gossip and you lose a friend over gossip. And maybe sometimes at the end it's not even true. But like it's just part of it's one of those things that have I don't know guys, have you guys seen or heard how when someone says someone about something and then word spreads and then at the end of the day like the whole thing has completely changed just because the way people express themselves about that. Like every time you share like, oh, did you hear that this person did this? Oh yeah, but I heard that he did this before, so maybe that's why he's doing this. Oh, he did that before? Oh, no wonder. Then it just starts, as they say in Spanish, echan más crema a los tacos. So at the end, this big old thing this small thing turns to this big old thing just because of the gossip and the cheese man and all that. So, we should always try to be careful and also who you talk to. Because, there's people out there that you tell things and then they'll go behind and be like, hey, this person said, and that's part of the gossip, So you always got to be careful who you say things to and stuff like that. We always try to portray like, oh, in the church, there's none of that. It's like, no, yeah, there's a bunch of it. There's unfortunately, I mean, it shouldn't be like that. I'm not saying like, oh yeah, it's fine. No, it shouldn't be like that. But even in church, it's like that when people say something about another person, and then there's a difference between gossip and then like criticism, And usually when it comes to critical criticism, I like to directly tell the person. Like, I don't really like to tell someone else like, hey, that person's doing that, because then you're kind of more like gossipy now. I'm critical. You know, when I tell someone like, you know, you're doing this wrong, I like to I'm more confrontational about it. Hey, man, you like another example. I know it's already gonna be time, but there's this, and it's at work. So many things happen at work. So, so there's this other guy at work. He's one of the security guards too. I guess they told him, hey, I think one of the guards fell asleep, and I was like, oh, what do you mean? That's like the worst thing that could happen. I mean, if we've ever done security, they know that the worst thing that you could do is fall asleep on the job. You know, it really is. So he's supposed to go out and give out the scan people, the metal detector, check for stuff. You know, normal security job. And this person fell asleep, so he didn't greet the people, and the people they just walked in, and they didn't say anything, but later on, when one of the other guards came in, since they talked to him pretty close, like, hey man, just we didn't say nothing, but when we came at this time, the guard never came out to like check us or anything. So I think he was asleep in the guard shack, and I was like, oh man, really? He's like, yeah, and I think he was watching a movie, because we can hear like a movie like sound effects. I was like, oh, like that's like literally the second worst thing you could do, and it's like, dude, this guy's doing all the worst things. But he was like, we didn't say nothing because we're cool with you guys, and we don't want to get you guys in trouble. But like, hey, just letting you know so you can let him know. I was like, oh, all right, yeah, I'll let him know. So when the guy came, I was like, hey man, so what's up? Hey, you know, like, hey, well, because a lot of people, like I said, the confrontation. You know, a lot of people don't really like to, like when someone messes up or does something wrong. A lot of us don't like doing that confrontation. Yeah, it's uncomfortable, you know, and you don't know how the person's gonna react. What if they get mad? Oh, what do you care? Ah, and they get all mad, and then you're like, hey man, I'm just letting you know. And then, so when the guy came, I was like, hey dude, so what happened on this day in the morning? Oh, what do you mean? I was like, yeah, did you fall asleep or what? Oh, whoa, who's saying what or what? I was like, well, I'm just saying that these guys came in and that you didn't go out to greet them. Oh, it's because I had already checked their stuff, so I just put it there, like their badges. And I was all like, yeah, but it's our job to go out there and check them. Like, yeah, come on, dude, you know this. You've been here for a while already. It's you know, common sense. I don't know how to put it. Like, I told him, I don't want to insult you. I told him, but like, it's kind of common sense. Like, I don't want to say you don't have a brain, but like, you know, there's nothing in there. Like, but how do you not know not to greet them? Like, that's part of the job, dude. And he was like, oh, well, they know. I was like, so, well, like, all right, I'm not going to accuse you that you fell asleep, but just next time, greet them. Because one of the guys there, he could have said something, but since he knows us, he didn't say anything because he's cool with us. He's not cool with you, obviously, you know, but he's cool with me and the other guy. So he's letting us know, like, hey, man, like this happened. So, you know, just let him know. So, because we could have really gotten in trouble. So I was like confronting him about it, like, hey, man, just do this. And he was in denial. The whole time he was in denial. Nah. I was like, all right, dude, like, you know, I'm not going to accuse you, but like, I mean, come on. Like, you didn't come out, obviously, and then you were watching a movie. What were you doing? And like, he was starting to get mad, and it's like, dude, don't get mad, man. You're the one that got caught. Like, you're the one that messed up. Don't get mad at me. I'm just like telling you, like they could have just gone and reported you, but I'm like, they know me, so I'm telling you. You should be thankful that I'm telling you and not someone else. And he kind of calmed down, but I mean, at the end, he never confessed, which I mean, whatever. I know he fell asleep, but like, he never confessed. But I mean, at the end, I was like, all right, we just settled it. Just make sure you greet him and stuff. But the whole thing with confrontation, you know, a lot of people don't like doing that. They see someone that, and that's just like work related, something that obviously it's at work, but outside of work, you know, if someone does something to you or says something about you or anything in general, sometimes it's better to just address it at that moment. Even though it's, because a lot of us don't, I mean, before I didn't really, but now I don't care. I'll tell you. Like, but maybe before I was a little bit more skeptical, like, maybe I should. Or they're probably going to get mad. They're not going to want to be my friend. You know, you think all these things come, but it's, at this point, I'm like, I don't care. I'll tell you. You know? Like, if you look ugly, hey, man, you look ugly, dude. Like, nah, just kidding. Nah, just kidding, but but like I should, but like I'm pretty blunt. Like I'll let you know. You know, like at this point, it's kind of like, hey man, like if you get mad, then well, too bad, you know. Like, what am I gonna do? Cry? I'll just get a better friend. You know. But just to conclude, oh, it's already time. Damn, went by quick. Um, so just to conclude, I mean, I'm pretty sure. Hopefully, you guys got an idea of what I was trying to explain about. The main goal that I was trying to really, and with all these various examples, was the main thing that I was trying to get at is, check who you associate yourself with, And if you're not associated with no one bad or nothing, then help each other to build up. If you guys are not in a good group and doing something well, then build your guys up together. Start doing something that would like better yourselves in any way. One of the things that is always great is when a group gets together and they start building something out of it. And like I said, not them, I'm going to build this empire, but no, it's just building each other up. And also showing support for one another. If one of you guys wants to start something or even go to school or do a fitness journey, anything in general, it's always good to have a group of people that support you in any way. Maybe they might not like going to the gym or whatever, but I mean, at least maybe they'll go with you one day or they'll support you. It's always good to find people that support you. So I think a really way to figure that out is who you associate yourself, who's your circle, as they call it. Your circle of friends and stuff. It's always a great thing to have a good amount of people that will help build each other up. Male or female, it don't matter, because I mean, with the guys it's a little bit different. With the girls, it's a little bit more. I think you guys go a little bit more based like on emotion and stuff. So it's always great to help you guys each other, support each other emotionally, and in a good way. Not in a gossipy way. Not in a gossipy way, not in a bad way, because it's really easy to be with a group and then you turn out to be mean girls. Like, yeah, no, that's not the point either. You guys don't want to do that, but be in a positive group. And then, of course, what goes without saying, but be in a group that it's influenced with God, that, help each other read the Bible, pray together, support each other spiritually, because that's a very strong thing nowadays, especially with everything that's going around. Find yourselves a group that really does support you guys in a strong spiritual way. Just my final thought is like my personal opinion. I know I have some extreme opinions, but like my personal opinion is like me. I like to really, when it comes to really picking down the people that I associate with, I really like the way I think about it is, would I like to take this person to battle or to war with me? Is he, as me, I'm talking from my personal opinion, would I like to take this person to battle, to war? Will he have my back when it comes to like conflict? That's how I like to really like pick like my circle kind of. And I've had some people that have failed me, because one more story, the last one, because there I have so many, but the last one for sure. So there was this one time I was outside my house chilling, just watering the grass. No, I was washing my car. Typical. I was washing my car, and one of my friends, he was like with me. He was like, hey, I don't know what, I forgot it was years ago. He was there. And I was just right there, doing my thing. And then this guy, I don't know why, I have no idea why, he just pulls over to the side, and he comes off, and he just kind of starts telling me off outside my house. And I'm just kind of like, what the heck? Like, like washing my car, like I was like, all right, so I put the thing down. And the funny thing is that like I got the water hose right, and in my head I was thinking, what should I do? It was a while back. But then I was all like, I had the hose, and I was all like what? Like, why are you talking to me? Like, I don't know you. And then he just started like cussing me out and telling me things. And then my other friend, he was just there kind of like, and I was like, dude, like, I mean, I didn't tell him anything, but then he started telling him off. And he was like, what? And then I told the guy, I was like, hey, dude, like, it was funny because I was like, hey, leave him alone. Like, you're talking to me. Like, why are you bothering me? And then he just kind of started cussing me out I don't know for what reason. And then I was like, dude, I don't even know you. Like you got the wrong house or something. Like, like, I don't know you. But after a while, I just like, hey, dude, like, I don't know you. And like, don't get into my property, because it was like right where the admit to the house where the driveway's at. And I just told him, like, hey, don't step in my property. That's all I'm asking. You can yell all you want there, but just don't step in my property, because then we'll have problems. And it's funny because I was right there, and he just stood right by the line, like this. So it was like, he'd be like, dude, like he wasn't crossing over, but he wanted to. But ever since I told him not to, he was just cussing me out right there. And then he leaves. It was just so random. And then my friend was just there like, what was that about? I was like, you didn't even back me up. He was like, well, what do you want me to do? I was like, well, back me up, dude. Like, I mean, if this guy would have gone at me for some crazy reason, or you're not even gonna back me up. He was like, well, I don't know him. Well, I didn't know him either. You know, but like, you're supposed to back me up. I thought, you know, he's like, oh, whoa, my bad. So like, ever since then, I kind of like, like, I don't want to take this guy to war. You know, like, imagine if something comes up like that again, he's just gonna be standing there. Like, so I really try to like surround myself with like someone that at least I know they'll have my back. You know, when it comes to that's how I personally associate my group with, is to have people that would really try to back you up. But overall, you know, thank you guys for listening and stuff. I hope you guys were able to understand the concept that I was trying to tell you guys. And like I said, I know it's a little bit unorthodox with like what you usually hear with like, you know, like people from the Bible and stuff like that. And I mean, of course, I use verses, and you know, of course, God comes first. But maybe it's just like a different, you know, perspective of how you guys can understand things. Just because we're all like younger and stuff, and I think it's just more chill. It gives it more of a chill vibe, as they call it. But I think that's it. If you guys want to just stand up real quick, we'll just do like a quick little prayer. All right, just quick, just say thank you, God, for this opportunity to be here. Thank you for bringing our brothers and sisters here safe, and thank you, God, for this beautiful day. Help us to be better. Help us to learn and differentiate how to associate with different people, to be able to have close people within our social groups and people that will support us spiritually, and also be able to help us build better, be better, and just grow up to be stronger in you, God, and also stronger here in this world and with other ways we want to associate our growth in. Give us the wisdom, give us the guidance to be able to pick who we're with, and help us just to be also part of that positive influence, not just for people to support us, but also us to be that support for that other person, because it goes both ways, Lord. And help us just to maintain a strong faith in you, help us to maintain a strong foundation in you, and help us be one of the strong friends in our group, and also have support from our other people.